Hey legends, how y'all doing? This is Magnus. In this video, I am going to react to Schaffrillas Productions video Lightyear. Is it good or nah? Pixar review. So this is basically a review of Lightyear after he saw it. Uh, this will be a bit of a longer video, but I've done those before. Um, and there will be other Lightyear. I want to do other reviews of people who watch Lightyear and hear their thoughts as well. Because to me, Lightyear is now honestly my number two favorite Pixar movie of all time. Toy Story is my number one. Lightyear is now at my number two, and it came out on Disney Plus a while ago. And that weekend, I watched it the day it came out. I watched that. Yeah, I watched it the day it came out. Then, um, right afterwards, I saw the new Prey movie. Then the next day, I watched Prey in the Comanche version, and then I watched Lightyear again. So I've seen it. So and I probably want to watch it again soon and soon. Um, anyway, I love the movie, but as we go through this, I'll probably lament my side more and more. So let's get into this. Please comment, like, subscribe, share. I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it.
Funding for Schaffrillas is provided by Surfshark VPN, the sponsor of today's video. Lightyear. Now remember, this isn't about Buzz Lightyear the toy. This is about the real-life human that inspired Buzz Lightyear, but actually no. It's actually a movie within the Toy Story universe that inspired the real-life human Andy to go get a Buzz Lightyear toy. If this is
Duh.
a real movie that inspired toys, how come we only ever see Buzz and Zerg toys in the Toy Story movies? What about all the side characters who look like marketable action figures? What about the robot cat? You're telling me toys of this robot cat wouldn't fly off the shelves and at least show up somewhere in the Toy Story movie?
I'm I'm certain that we could look up a recent example, or at least a live action, real world example of a movie who had like maybe one famous character, and then the others just didn't sell. Well, at least in my opinion.
Movies, it's almost like this framing device is really stupid and doesn't make any sense, but that's okay because even if you ignore it, the movie is still not very good. I don't know, man. This seems like a pretty neat idea, making a cool standalone space adventure movie that just so happens to tie into a pre-existing IP in a pretty non-intrusive way. Despite a few cringeworthy dialogue references to stuff Buzz said in the Toy Story movies, it does stand alone pretty well for the most part. But at the same time, it tells such a generic and uninspired story that it kind of feels like it was only made just to squeeze some more dollars out of the Toy Story IP through toy sales, ironically enough. So
Ouch.
much of this movie feels unoriginal and hollow, like a weird mashup of a ton of recent sci-fi movies, despite the fact that in the Toy Story universe, this came out during the 90s. It could have been a fun parody of 90s sci-fi, especially considering Buzz Lightyear himself was kind of an over-the-top parody character. But no, it's a very contemporary feeling film, and Buzz himself is fairly generic and not nearly as fun as his Toy Story counterpart. I didn't need him to be quite as over the top as Toy Buzz, that might get annoying, but I wish there was a bit more life and humor injected into both him and the rest of the movie. There are some sparse, funny moments here and there, sure. The robot cat was really enjoyable, and he got a few laughs.
I would say Socks was absolutely, yeah. Socks was hilarious. He's a highlight of the movie.
I liked when the autopilot on Buzz's ship wasn't working, so he
Yeah.
flew into it like an old game cartridge. That got a chuckle out of me.
Yep.
The sandwich scene was kind of cute, but for the most part, this movie's attempts at humor kinda don't land. Taika Waititi is in this movie, and I think he's hilarious in almost everything he's in, but his character didn't make me laugh once. I just heard his funny voice and wish they would give him funny things to say. He's got this one recurring joke involving a pen, and I can see how it could have worked comedically. Like, he could have just been ultra enthusiastic about using it, but then everyone keeps shooting him down. And then when the time came to finally use it, it could have been this big, hilarious moment of payoff. Basically, the spaghetti strainer joke from season 3 of Bojack. The concept was there on paper, and it could have been really funny, but the way it was executed just wasn't. The writing needed to be more over the top, and the payoff had to be bigger for the joke to really land. It just kind of made me sad. funny that joke would have been in a 2000s Pixar film when they were at the top of their comedic game. Hell, it's not like modern Pixar is unfunny. The humor was one of my favorite parts about Turning Red. It's just the way the jokes were directed and paced and written in this movie that just felt so off. In fact, yeah, that's one of my biggest problems. The direction of this movie just felt stilted and awkward. It's hard to
Hmm.
really describe, but one example is this nightmare Buzz has early on that's meant to show how much he regrets something, but it just happens so fast that you don't really get time to process it. He falls asleep, he's suddenly in a nightmare that lasts like 15 seconds, and then he wakes up. There's a lot of scenes like this where it's difficult to really connect with what's going on because it seems too rushed. And it's not just the direction, the script has some of these problems too. There's a scene where Buzz is told he can't continue his mission into space, but then he finds out the right combination that'll make the mission succeed. So you'd think the next scene would be him trying to show this information to the commander and asking for one last chance. But instead, some troops show up to deactivate his robot cat for no real good reason. So he just jumps out a window and tries to do the mission illegally. It felt like the script was leaping a bit there and not really following the most natural.
I mean, I can see that. I can see that. But the only thing was like, since they already decommissioned the mission, and I'm certain they did that like a year ago during that time when the commander became the new commander. Yes, you could. Yes, you could have done it. So I would have liked to see what would have happened if they brought that case to the commander and the rest of the team. But I feel like it would have led to almost the same conclusion.
Natural and flowing course of action the plot could have taken. Another leap is with Buzz's entire motivation. He spends the whole movie trying to fix a mistake he made because he thinks he owes it to everyone else he failed. But none of them ever expressed disappointment with him or what he did, and they all seem to live perfectly fine, safe lives. There's no real emotional hook to this movie other than Buzz is disappointed with himself. And it's understandable enough, but not really emotionally investing. No one else seems to care about what Buzz did, so why should I? This
Hmm.
movie. This
I can
movie.
understand that.
And if you live in
I
one of
can
those
see
United
that.
States revealed at the
But
end.
I think it was because no one else blamed him for what it was, and it was just him. It made this message hit home. If somebody did blame him for that, eh. Like, I like how throughout the movie it shows that the only one hating Buzz for making that mistake is himself. From the very start, it was he hated himself for it, and had to get over that.
Movie's emotional peak happens in the first 20 minutes, and said emotional peak is basically just a ripoff of Interstellar. It's pretty good in a vacuum, but also done better in that movie, so there's that. And while a movie like Up also emotionally peaks at the very beginning, at least in that movie, they built upon that emotional moment with some other powerful scenes later on. This movie kinda does that, but again, it really doesn't feel very focused on, and it comes across as rushed. And don't even get me started on the villain, man. This movie's version of Zerg might just be the worst Pixar villain since whoever the fuck was the villain of Cars 2. He has
All the day, folks. Oh no, man. What? What? Zerg? You're telling me Zerg is the worst? Okay. All right. All right. I'll listen to you. I'll listen to you. Let me just go over again. Let me.
And
I'll
don't
listen.
even get me started on the villain, man. This movie's version of Zerg might just be the worst Pixar villain since whoever the fuck was the villain of Cars 2. He has basically no presence for the first 2 acts of the movie until he starts showing up literally out of nowhere to chase down the heroes whenever the movie decides it's time for an action scene. And I'm not going to get into spoilers because I frankly don't care enough about this movie to set up a spoiler tag. So I'm just going to be really vague here, but so much about him just doesn't make any sense. Maybe I missed it, but I don't think they ever explained how he came into being, and I find it so odd that his mindset is like this, considering his experiences and the things he saw before he conveniently stumbled upon this evil technology. It just feels like he shouldn't be this unreasonable. His motivation is extremely flimsy, and it feels like he could just accept things and move on and do something else with his life. I know he's haunted or whatever, but for this long, really? So yeah, his motivation's
There are people. I'm just saying there are people in real life who never got over one single thing that happened. Like there are people who get locked up in one section of their life and never let it go. So to me, the Zerg of this film, I understand. Like it's so if y'all already seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. It's the exact motivation Buzz has, the exact same. The only thing is there was no one there to teach Zerg the lesson. Buzz, on the other hand, learned the lesson because of the events that took place. He's in his timeline, at least. He took a second to reflect. To reflect. Zerg never got that chance and never chose to.
Completely fell flat for obvious reasons, and he just isn't very threatening. He was
Okay. All right. Not very. I mean, the armor is awesome, and that's very threatening. And I could feel his presence through either the Zerg bots or his robot suit itself. Oh, like he was like from the very moment you come to the future, or you feel Zerg's presence throughout. In my opinion,
a more menacing antagonist in toy form somehow. How do you manage that? Honestly, the more I talk about this movie, the less I like it. My biggest compliment is that it's watchable at the very least. The animation is stellar as ever. It's got some cool
I
action
agree.
scenes. The cat is funny.
I agree.
It's one of Michael Giacchino's weaker scores, but even his C plus material is pretty good. But man, its main characters are kind of lame. The villain sucks. The direction feels off. It's got an incredibly weak story. And this gets to be Pixar's return to movie theaters? What a sick joke. The studio has been on a bit of a roll with their original ideas lately. I loved Soul and Luca, and while Turning Red wasn't a favorite of mine, I respect it for connecting with so many people, and I was definitely too harsh to some aspects of it. It sucks that after 3 original hits in a row, we're now back to the same shit that dragged Pixar's reputation down during the 2010s. Movies that
Ouch.
exist as brand extensions first, and stories worth telling second. It's not awful, but it's absolutely not worth checking out in theaters, and you should be fine just waiting for it to come to Disney Plus, where it should have been released to begin with. I'm giving this
Ouch.
one a 5 out of 10, and I'm retroactively bumping my Turning Red score up to a 6, mainly because it had the Awooga scene, which is better than the entirety of Lightyear. Thank you, bye bye. This is Buzz Lightyear's mission log. It seems that
Now he's going into the sponsor. Anyway, all right. All right, I'll accept that. I'll accept that. That I would say even man, this is the reason why I want to do tier list videos because now I want to do a tier list video on the Pixar villains and rank them. Oh, so I really liked Lightyear. I'd give it. Oh, and I've watched it 3 times. I've seen Lightyear 3 times now. And to me, it was funny. It got funnier and funnier. Like the second and third time I watched it, I laughed at more stuff. I noticed more Easter eggs. So to me, my initial reaction, as y'all saw in one of my YouTube shorts, to me it's a beyond like 100 out of 10, and for the initial reaction, I think currently, like now, it's still basically a 9 to 10 out of 10 to me. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Oh, I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know. Have you seen Lightyear? And what do you think about it? Please comment, like, subscribe, share this video. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Later.